Good evening and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, your host, and tonight we're going to talk about how to fight CPS and stop taking our children. It's a horrible agency in a lot of different areas. Not all the child protection systems are bad, but at least 1,000 or more are. And how I know that? Well, I've been doing this live stream now for 17 months, since October 2023. I've talked to over 1,000 people from around our country, from every state, and several people from the same state. And I've also talked to 21 countries because this is an open live stream to the world. Anybody that's fighting CPS is welcome here. Anybody that has issues with CPS is welcome here. And if you are a CPS worker out there, or a policeman out there, or a foster care, you're more than welcome on this podcast. I did not discriminate good or bad. All I know is that there are bad CPS child protection systems and good ones. And I cannot tell the difference. My case, and yes, I was a father who had a CPS case thrown on him at the worst time of my life when I lost my job through no fault of my own. And during the next 15 years, I've been fighting CPS. For 5 years, they were constantly harassing me and my wife. And what it was stemmed from a lay person. Lay people are like your family, your friends, your acquaintances. And they can call in and make accusations. There's no accountability for their accusations. I had false accusations made by my in-laws, my wife's mother, father, 3 sisters, and her brother. And they would call in weekly for 5 years. And I would meet with the social workers under the light at the outside of the house, in the house. I've had them in the house. I had nothing to hide. I did not know about CPS, except they were determined to get me. And after 5 years, they got the police involved. And they made a ruse that I needed to come to the house this particular day. And so the policeman ordered me, the detective for the local police ordered me to the home and open it up. If I knew what I knew now, I would never have gone to my home. I never would open up. I would tell the police officer, if I did a traffic violation, write me up. If I've done something criminal, arrest me. I did not know my constitutional or civil rights. You have a right to keep that house closed. You have a right to protect your children in your household. You have a right not to speak to social workers or even the police. It's your constitutional right. You have a right to be represented by an attorney at all proceedings. I did not know those things until 15 years later. So I'm telling you, is that there's a lot of constitutional civil rights that you need to learn about. And that's what the purpose of this live stream is, to help you orientated to what CPS workers can do with your family, what the police can do with you or your family. Your family is the most precious thing. And all of you that are in my room all the time care about your family. You wouldn't be coming to my room if you didn't care. And a lot of you have had shared horrific, sad programs. Sad programs. Now, I have 7 rooms that feed into this YouTube room. And I broadcast on YouTube, but I use the StreamYard application. It's an application that lets me do a lot of things. And, there was an important meeting tonight. I imagine most of you are listening to it at the Congress. And I know that we're heading in the right direction and CPS will be controlled and accountable. Right now, CPS is a loose cannon. It's trillions of dollars by rogue CPS that are making off us parents as guinea pigs. Our children are being trafficked into foster care. They are being alienated by the CPS social workers. Now, it's come to my attention that my attorney, who is Vincent W. Davis, a strong CPS attorney, one of the best in the country, who I had hired to help get my children back, who I had hired to get them back. And right now, this show does have a cost and does take time. So we are passionate about bringing you the information you need, sharing the stories to raise awareness, inspire, and to fight CPS. To keep creating the content you love, we need your support. Production costs are rising, and every contribute makes a real difference. And I will tell you more as it comes up with time. Things are changing on my screen, so I'm trying to understand what I'm doing or not doing. Subscribe to, okay, it's very important that you subscribe to the YouTube channel CPS Defense Strategy, and it's a consultant, Vincent Davis. You need to do so. Now, what's appearing in my bottom ticket right now is to subscribe to the YouTube channel CPS with Defense Strategy and with the consultant Vince Davis. So you need to do that. You need to support us. And we need to keep this live stream going. Now, I'll have other messages and other things up for now. But anyway, we'll talk more about the membership and how it works and so forth. But I tried to, best way of doing something that would help Mr. Davis and help you all get your children back. Now, this is a live screen, and I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week. I'm broadcasting from Southern California, 3 blocks from the ocean, a place called Surf City in the United States. Now, what I've done is I've taken one of the life skills that I have many knowledge of life skills. And that life skill is to talk about CPS, how to fight CPS, how to understand CPS, how to get your children back when the CPS unnecessarily takes your child. There are over 1,000 people of you that have talked to me or texted me from not only from the United States, but from the District of Columbia. Also from 21 countries, from Indonesia to Bangladesh to India to Saudi Arabia to Libya to Africa to Liberia to Sudan to Rwanda to Mozambique and 2 provinces in South Africa. And up north to Europe, I've had England, Scotland, and Wales. I've also had Denmark and Sweden that have either texted in or called in about problems that they had with CPS. Across the pond in North America, I've had 4 provinces in Canada and all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. South of the border, I've had Mexico. Then in South America, I've had Grenada. Then across the South Pacific, I had New Zealand, and the land down under called Australia. I've had 2 states in Australia. Now, some of these countries I've been to over 50 countries around the world. I've lived in 5 countries around the world. And I've probably lived in at least 25 states. And I've been to almost every state of the union. So I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of life skills. And one of the areas that I've concentrated on is CPS. But there's a lot of life skills that you need to know. How to do your checkbook, how to do taxes, how to stop bullying in elementary school, how to date, how to marry, how to divorce, how to cook, how to play football, how to run and organize surfing contests, how to compete in surfing contests, how to coach. Car racing. I'm very active in the IndyCar series. Coming up this April will be my 50th year as a volunteer for the committee that puts on the Grand Prix close to where I live. That's 50 years we've been doing that. And again, I have these life skills. I have over 50 years with the Red Cross, another 50 years with Boy Scouts. Now, I know it's called Scouting now, but Boy Scouts of America Scouting. I've had a lot of experience in AYSO soccer, and I can tell you a lot. But the one thing that I've been concentrating on is called the Child Protection System. It's a government agency that's mandated by Congress to protect our children from neglect and abuse. Congress mandated that social services will set up a group of social workers and watch and take care of our children that are neglected and abused. Now, neglected is like a child that is not fed right, not cleaned right, no shower, not have clothing that's appropriate for the weather, not taken to school or encouraged to go to school, not any supervision of the child. That is called neglect. Now, abuse is physical harm to the child, such as throwing a child against the wall, shaking a young infant so the brains are popping out of their head, or taking a wire or a cord or a rope or a wooden spoon and spanking the child so badly that there's welts and bruises and everything about that. Excessive corporate punishment is abuse. Verbal argument between a husband and wife is abuse. You do not argue in front of your children. That should be one of your golden rules. Why? When you argue in front of the children, anger arises, and each one of you wants to be important. And you may do it purposely because the children are present. What you're telling the children is you got to take sides. Who's better, mom or dad? Mom or dad. So you don't want to argue. You know about the rule called timeout, and you do that with your children all the time. You're no longer doing corporate punishment. If a child misbehaves, they're sent to a corner for a timeout. Some of it's exaggerated, like in school, they put you on a stool with the dunce cap put over your head. But that gives a wrong impression because they think you're stupid. You're not stupid. You're trying to correct a behavior. Now, I used to train killer whales. Yes, that's right. One of the biggest dolphins in the world. They're huge, they have big mouths, and they can bite. Now, in my years of training killer whales, I never was bitten. And I did some unusual things like trying to go down in their mouth to get a plastic bag that they had swallowed, or they take blood from their flukes of their tails, or they look at a tooth that's hurting or a hurt somewhere. But when I trained them, I never used corporate punishment. I used reward, emphasizing an act I wanted them to perform, and reinforced it with a reward and a whistle. I used a whistle, I used fish, and I used commands with my hands and my mouth. And they're able to follow it. With your children, you need to do time out. You need to talk to them at first and say, look, you're doing a bad behavior. I want you to take 5 minutes or 10 minutes to think about it. Go in that corner, no cell phone, no play toy, and concentrate. But when you're done with it, I want you to come back so we can talk about it. Too many timeouts, the parents do timeouts, 5 minutes go by and they say, okay, your timeout's over. They need to know what is wrong. They need corrective behavior. And as parents, you're doing that. Now, what's happened is that a lot of parents don't, and that's why they created the child protection system. There's systems in every county and every state. They all have different names. That's why I don't talk like that. The Child Protection Service are in a lot of counties, but also the Department of Child and Family Services, or the Department of Children's Services, or the Cabinet. There are going to be so many names, you spend all your time talking about the right names. So when I say CPS, I mean all child protection systems. Systems that are empowered to protect our children from neglect and abuse. Social workers that need to be properly trained and licensed and a background. There's so much that CPS needs to improve on, and I hope that new government program DOGE gets into CPS, because right now they're investigating social services. Because social services has given so much money to CPS. It's $1 trillion business. That's why they take children. Now, I'm not saying that is the only reason, but I'm saying a lot of times, over 1,000 times, they've taken children when they should not have necessarily be taken. My children, from firsthand, were taken and abused in foster care and abused by social workers and alienated from their parents and retaliated. Social services that I've been experienced with are hearing from you, the 1,000-some people from over the country and around the United States, have been horrible, horrible stories. Horrible stories. Children that have died in the hands of social services that didn't know what they're doing. Example, a mother, about 6 months, called in and shared a story about where her young son, barely over 12 months old, could hardly walk, was being cared supposedly by social workers. Unavoidably, they left him in a ball pit. It's a pit where they put those styrofoam balls. They have them at IKEA. You leave your children off so you can go shopping. The only problem is this child had no protection from the other kids, and the other kids started jumping around. He fell into the thing he wasn't seeing. Anyway, he was found dead in the hands of social workers, in the hands of CPS. The people that are supposed to protect our children are killing our children. They're very abusive to parents. They're very abusive. They were abusive to me and my wife. Now, I am a father who has helped to raise 6 children. My oldest is 47. My youngest is 19. And all 6 of them would tell you they had a good life. And right now, the 3 older ones are off on their own. The oldest is a JAG in the Air Force. The next one is a mother who has 2 children of her own, and she is a teacher at a university. The third child, who's in her 30s too, as well as the other one, is a teacher, and she teaches school. Now, the other 3 were my young children, and at the time that CPS was involved, my kids were young. My kids were young. My son at the time was 4 years old. And my daughter was 8 years old. And my oldest son then was 10 years old. Now, these 3 children, when I first got experience with CPS, weren't involved with CPS. My involvement in CPS for the first 5 years, from 2010 to 2015, was answering ridiculous questions by a layperson calling in and saying we weren't taking care of our children. They weren't in school. We didn't pay the utility bills. We didn't feed them. We didn't clothe them. Our 3 young children had a room with their own bath that was spotless. The house was great. The only problem is, in 2015, I've been taking my parents' furniture, and that time when I lost my job in 2010, I had no money for a storage unit, which I needed to put my parents' belongings in. So I thought, okay, I'll bring them in and flood the living room. My house was huge, double stories, 3,500 square feet, nice size lot, parking for 4 or 5 cars, 3-car garage, central vacuum. It had everything, swimming pool, everything. But because I had those belongings from my parents, who my dad had died, and my mom was slowly dying, I was trying to give them to family and friends. So I said I'd take them on. The only problem is the boxes piled and the furniture piled were supposedly in danger of the children. So I was charged and my wife was charged with 3 counts of neglect. And we also were charged, not by the CPS, by the police. And I later learned out it's a ploy, sexual charges. They didn't define what sexual things we did our children, but 3 counts of sexual whatever. I still to this day do not know what sexual things we're thinking about. But they were in retaliation mode, the police were. They were in revenge mode. And they kept that card in ACE to do a trade-off. They thought if they could tax us out, that we would fight it. And as a trading card, they said to drop the 3 counts of the sexual charges and deal with the 3 counts of neglect. Well, they went a step further and to negotiate that we didn't want to do a trial, and we should have done a trial. But I didn't want to put my family through it, and I wanted to end. It had been going on for a year. I thought, okay, I'll accept that. But boy, did I not know what accepting 3 misdemeanor charges would entail. I had to take a year-long domestic violence class, which I didn't mind. I had to take parenting classes. That was fine. I was drug tested, even though I never did drugs. First, it was like once a week, and then twice, 3 times a month or whatever. It became there. And the guy doing it, they were paying for it because I had no income at the time. I had 0 income when they invaded my life and took my children. And I learned a very valuable lesson that you need to fight CPS and the police. Because in 2015, my children were then 9, 12, and 15. They took them. No warning, nothing. And they charged me with the 3 counts, me and my wife, with those charges. And then the police, 3 months later, the district attorney charged the same 3 counts of neglect and then the 3 counts of sexual whatever. It's really weird how they can do things because there is plea bargaining and there is corruptness in our courts and corruptness in our judges and corruptness in the attorneys. I'm really sad to say not everything is cozy. This isn't Little House on the Prairie you're dealing with. This isn't Heartland. This is reality. And reality is that CPS workers are crooked. Not all of them. I want to be careful. But I want to say they are, because the common thing that myself, my wife have, my family have, with all of you out there, is your children very innocently were taken. And it's been a miserable experience to try to see your children or try to get them back. That's the MO that CPS is. And I want to welcome Margaret for coming in here. And she is from St. Louis, Missouri, and she has a question. And so, Margaret, I'll stop talking and hear your question. She is represented by the same attorney, Vincent W. Davis. And she is a grandparent, and she's trying to get her son's kids so she can see them and so forth. Her grandchildren have been robbed from her. And her son is the one they want him involved, and they say that she cannot see her grandchildren, which is wrong. Margaret, go ahead and ask your question. I really like to help you. And again, if I talk too much, then start asking me questions. Start texting me messages. It's very, very, very important. So I'm waiting for Margaret to say something. Hopefully she's typing something in right now. Now, Margaret has been a repeated supporter of my live cast here. She's come to this room twice a day. And it's a lot. As I told you, I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. Then again at the evening at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. On the weekends, I come on 2 hours early at 8 a.m. That's Saturday and Sunday. Certain times during the week, I also am on different times. Margaret, if you hear me, I'm waiting for your question. Now, on the screen, I've put up there, let me raise the screen so you can see me. I'm not trying to hide. Is that when you're texting a message, because this is an interactive live podcast, all I ask from you is is to ask either a question or make a comment, and it's got to be about CPS. Also, please show me your first name, your city or county, and then, of course, your state. And you're from outside the U.S., I'd like to have your province, state, and country. If you don't have a province or state, a country's fine. If you don't have a county, your city's fine. But please show me your first name, your city, your county, your state, your country. And that is the second way that you can interact in this live stream. The first way is to do emojis. That's the smiley faces, the thumbs up, the hearts. Or please send me stars to support my live stream. And check below to follow me. I love to have you follow me. Also, I like you to give notifications. I mean, if you want to be notified when I'm on, then you'll get notifications. It's okay to leave reviews. I like all the reviews. But I want to help you. I want to be more than just me sitting here talking for an hour. I've already talked for 27 minutes. Sure, I'm covering important topics, but everything I'm talking about has been said once before. There are a lot of live streams I've done, lots of live streams. Now, a third way to react with this live stream is to be a guest, and I love to have you as a guest on my live stream. All I ask you is that you write an email to my show producer. Her name is Grace, and she's been with me since the start. And she keeps the podcast going and making sure that she can help me and present a good podcast to encourage people to hire Vincent Davis, to get advice from Mr. Davis and from Bob Pace. Now, when you want to be a guest, I can take 9 of you. All you do is you sign up for one of my 14 live streams. You just say, I want to be Bob's Monday, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday. I want to be on the morning or the afternoon. That's all you have to put there. Then she'll send you a link to get on StreamYard so that you could be up there along with me. I can have 10 people on StreamYard all talking and all showing your face. But it's really good. And she will tell you what to say and not to say. And as far as, simple things like we don't use names. We don't eat on the live stream. We don't smoke on the live stream. Those are some of the things she'll help you with. She'll also help you with your sound or your picture. She is tech savvy. She knows a lot about computers. She's really a great asset to me. So that's to be a live guest. Further, if you want to call in, and I hope you do, let's say you're embarrassed being on cam, you just want to talk. You can call in all the time, but keep in mind, I can only talk during my show, and I can only talk to one person at a time. As a live guest, I can talk to 9 people. But when you call in to my phone number, 626-698-0990, you can only talk to me during my show times. And, but one thing is nice, whether you're a guest or whether you call in, you're eligible for a free 15-minute private consultation on Zoom with Mr. Davis. He'll talk to you about anything for 15 minutes. You should have your list of questions and prioritize them. Say which ones you need to know first. Then he'll talk to you for the 15 minutes. He will talk to you and listen. Maybe you and him can work something out. Maybe he can defend you. I know Margaret got Vincent Davis from doing that. So that's my number, 626-698-0990. Now I use a internet application for phone called Vonage. You don't have to have it, but I'm letting you know up front that it works on my phone, Vonage. Now, Margaret probably has that. Oh, no. Margaret, I think I am talking. Grace, can you hear me? Grace, can you hear me? My show producer. I know I'm talking. Grace, can you hear me? Oh, you said you can hear me. Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting for you to have a question. And I can hear you. Okay, Margaret, I thought you said you couldn't. I have a search and a siege order. Do I have a right to stop them from entering my home? Okay, if it's a legal document, Margaret, and what I mean by legal, it has to be signed by a judge. It's got to be on the paper. It's got to list you on there, your name, Margaret King, not Joe Smuck or whatever. It's got to list the children. Now, if they're talking about your grandchildren, I don't know about that. Also, it's got to have your address and the proper date. Now, if they have a date on the weekend or a holiday, that court order is bogus. A lot of social workers will use a bogus search warrant. They'll lie. So you need to look at that, and you need to read its entirety. And if you question anything about it, you can call the clerk's office, and the clerk will identify that is a legal document. But you don't want them to enter your home. But if the court order says they're entitled to enter a home, they got specific what they're going to do. They're going to take your grandchildren. They say they want to see something. They need to list what they're looking for. Now, since you have Vincent Davis as your attorney, and he is an attorney, I'm not. I'm a loving father and a husband, and I have 41 years of marriage, and I've helped raise 6 children. But Vincent is a licensed attorney in the area of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. He's been fighting CPS for 39 years. He once was a foster child himself. So he knows how to fight CPS, and he's gotten back thousands of children, whether they're in California or other states. I know he had a case in Oklahoma. He has your case in Missouri. He has cases in Northern California, both in Kern County and Shasta County. He has cases in San Bernardino, Riverside, in LA County, in Orange County, and San Diego County. He is all over. He will practice law anywhere. Right now, I've not got a confirmation if he practices law in Canada, but I know one of my listeners wants to have him come to Canada and defend her case. That's how important they think Vincent Davis is. And he is. He is a really great person. Now, the legal part about entering your home, that comes from your attorney, Vincent Davis. But I can tell you right now, if that court order is legit, and another way to look for it there'll be a signature. It's got to be a wet signature, not a photocopy signature. It's got to have a hand stamp, and when the hand stamp, it's going to raise the letters of that signature. Those little hand stamps they have, and they squeeze the paper and put the notarized seal, and that seal is raised. It gives bumps on the paper. Will also raise the wet signature, so you know it's legit. But you need to really look at it. And then you got to tell Vincent Davis that you got that court order, and he'll give you advice. Remember, the attorney is the key to your success. They're the ones you should follow. Now, I'm not talking about court-appointed attorneys or public defenders or the social worker attorney or whatever. But I am saying that with that court warrant, I mean, you got to look at it closely, okay? Margaret, and get back to me. Look at it closely. Now, we have a new person tonight. A new person, yeah, I've never seen before. And their name is Lexi, L and X Love. Now, I know there's a love, but I've never heard the L and X explanation love. Are you guys the same? Anyway, this LX Love says, "Hi, Bob. I found my friend's kid was taken from you." Okay, so you weren't the mother. The day, it's Lexi Love. It's okay. Well, I don't, there's a person named Love. So I don't know if it's the same one as Love. If you're Lexi Love, I think there has been a Lexi Love on here. But it was taken from me the day he went home from the hospital due to his history only. What can my friend do? Okay. Hi, Bob. My friend. Let's call your friend Kathy. Kathy was taken from you. Now, I don't understand if your friend was taken from you. He went home from the hospital due to his history. It's very confusing what you're asking for me. Okay, the child was taken from your friend. Is that the friend's child? Is that friend the biological parent of the child? What is your relationship to the child who's taken? I know you have a girlfriend, let's say, and your girlfriend has a child. Okay, so what you're telling me that your girlfriend had a child and the child was with you and they were taken from you. Now, what you should have done is you don't talk to police or social workers. Now, they have to have a court order, a warrant to take that child. But it's your friend that should be addressing that. So I'm really confused. But if you're not the biological parent and you're just a friend of the girlfriend, I don't know if they're taken from you. Now, there's some talk where they try to take away, if you have an open case yourself, are you allowed to see other children? And the answer is yes. But I don't know what your case is open or closed, but you need to address it a little bit more easier. And again, I have no idea where you're from, Lexi Love, because you're not the Love from North Carolina, I don't think. Lexi Love. I'm trying to think. Love, Lexi Love, L and X Love. Anyway, I'm glad you're asking, and I'm here to help you. So let's try again and answer the question. Now, if you want to call in, either you or Margaret at 626-698-0990, that would be great, because then we wouldn't have to go back like we're playing ping pong ball. I love ping pong balls, so it's okay to go back and forth. But I'd like to cut the chase and get to the chase. So this baby was taken from your friend. Was it the biological mother of that baby? I mean, what was the reasons why the baby was taken? And Margaret, I need to know more about that document. Have you checked that document? Now I'm looking at my show time because I got to be careful because I can't go beyond 8. And sometimes I have. It's 7:50 right now, which means in 10 more minutes, this live stream, I'll have to bring it to a close. The phone will stay active for 5 more minutes. Oh, oh, whoa. Well, that was quick. Good evening and welcome to my live stream. I'm Bob Pace. Who do I have the pleasure of talking to?
Hi, Bob. This is Lexi Love.
Okay, Lexi Love. Have we talked before?
No, never.
Oh, okay. The reason why is I have lots of loves. I have a love, and now I have an L and X love, and now I have a Lexi Love. Is the L and X love and the Lexi Love the same?
Yes. Well, I just write it down like that because there's so many
I know
out there.
I know. I just like it. I like it simple. You could just put the word Lexi and that'd be fine. But anyway, I know you created that YouTube thing, and I'm so glad you joined our live stream. You sound like a wonderful mother, and I'm trying to understand about your friend and whether she is the biological parent of the new baby. And was the baby?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Yes.
And was the baby taken from your hands or her hands?
No, from hers. From hers. And the only thing that they, when they came home, the only thing that they told her was that she had a history and that they were worried that she was going to relapse or something like that.
Hold on one second. The person that is calling me at area code 510, I can't answer the call because I only talk to one person at a time. If you want to talk to me or a bunch of you want to talk to me, try to be on my show as a guest. And all you do is to write an email to my show producer, Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And you can be on there. But the drawback about calling in is that it's a one-on-one situation. So I'm so glad that you called in, Lexi, and try to explain to it. Where is the case located? What city, county, and state?
California.
Okay, it's in LA County. I know LA County quite well. So, and I hate to tell you, the Department of Children and Family Services is bad there. There are a lot of horror stories I could share with you. And Vincent Davis, I know Vincent Davis, my attorney, has fought many a case there. They don't like him. A lot of CPS actually use Vincent Davis's podcast to help train their workers of how to avoid Mr. Davis and other attorneys like him. He has a reputation. He has a reputation of being a pit bull. So, are you looking for an attorney? Vincent Davis is the candidate. And if you want to cut to the chase, you just call in 888-888-6582. That's the law office of Vincent Davis. You reach reception, tell them you want to hire Mr. Davis or you want to talk to him about his retainer and how much you'd be and whether you go there and stuff like that. Because he is legit. You don't have to screen. You don't have to do an interview. It should do an interview because you have to know if you have the chemistry. Not everybody can work with everybody. They have to have.
Oh, yeah.
They have to have. And as I'm talking about attorneys, they have to be schooled and licensed in the area of juvenile law, dependency law, and family law. Those three things go together. And they also have the experience of fighting CPS, both getting the children back and suing CPS after your case is closed. If you find an attorney that meets both those parameters by calling him, then you got a chance that you get an attorney that'll work for you. You need to find 3 of them. And I'm going to save the cut it to the chase. You already have one attorney you could talk to, Vincent W. Davis. So all you need is 2 more. And you compare the 3, you look at their records. I mean, you look at the people that he recommends him, you talk to them, and again, you have your meeting with him. If the chemistry is good, then you got yourself a pit bull of attorney.
Perfect. Yes, so we'll definitely be looking into possibly hiring Mr. Davis. We do have a very complicated case for no reason. You know, her son was taken
Sounds
from
right
her.
Up his alley. And when you do talk to Mr. Davis, make sure you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. Okay, so he knows that I'm doing my job of getting clients for him.
You are.
So
you're doing such a great job.
Okay.
I've seen you YouTube for a couple of times, but I wasn't sure if I should call or send a text message or something, but I'm glad I did too.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
I'm really easy to talk to. I'm a likable guy, and that's what you need right now, because your friend is going through a lot of problems with CPS, and you're dealing with a very corrupt agency, an agency that will lie, retaliate, and not transparent, an agency that will rob $20,000 of our government funds per child per month, and they don't even think about it.
Right.
They don't think about it.
Right.
Now, this biological parent who's lost his child, what are they being charged with?
So based off her history, she has a substance abuse history, which she has already, she went into a program.
Okay, I'm gonna.
She does.
Yeah, you cut out for a second. Go ahead. She went into a drug abuse,
thing.
Had, okay.
Program. She completed all her services. She had a prior case.
Right, and did she get drug tested?
Yes, she did, and she tested
negative.
She tested negative
all right.
for the department. Yes.
To all you listeners out there, let me say one thing to all you listeners. Just because you have a drug or substance, or you have a hiccup somewhere taking care of your children, it should not be the end of the world. You should be able to fix things. Families can be fixed. You should be able to still do what's called family reunification. The only problem is the history will remain in the file unless you expunge your file. So if she had a prior case, it's real easy for CPS to ding her again. So they supposedly someone. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I have a question in regards to that. So based on her history, only because of her history, there's no new current situation of, baby wasn't born with any, substance abuse in them or anything. Like, baby was clean, she was clean. Can they still remove the child because of her history?
Not because of their history. Not it is illegal. They cannot remove a child. They're going to try to. So if she made some mistakes, like I make mistakes, by answering the door, by letting the police and the CPS workers roam in your house. I actually had a whole army of people. I had 5 firemen, 2 code enforcement, 2 uniformed policemen, a detective, and 3 social workers trying to find out what is wrong with my home. And the problem is they're listening to a lay person, my in-laws, my wife's father, mother, and her 3 sisters and her brother, who once a week, and I did not find out this too much years later, they were calling in from Ohio to California. In fact, one of her sisters is a social worker, so she knows how to work the system. You see, social workers like to cry wolf. Do you know about Peter and the Wolf?
I don't.
Okay. There was an early story about people that want to lie. And what happened is that this boy named Peter wanted attention. So he always came home screaming, "I'm being attacked by a wolf." So what happened one time, he was attacked by a wolf. And that wolf ate the boy. So that's the story of Peter and the Wolf. It's a nursery rhyme. Not a nursery rhyme, it's a children's story, Peter and the Wolf. And I'm surprised. Maybe I'm showing my age. Maybe it was a story only in the 50s or 60s or something. I don't know. But Peter and Wolf was a good analogy. That it's like Chicken Little says the sky is falling. Well, if you go around the world worried about the sky falling, you'll never get anywhere in life. So forget about the sky falling. Forget about making up stories. Tell the truth. Be honest. And pray to God. I mean, I still emphasize God as a very important part of my life and a very important part of your lives in there.
Amen. Yeah.
So, and a lot of people, I'm still learning about God and everything. And there is a railroad track that's shown in life. One track is going to where your life is going, which is sometimes a big circle or a little circle. There's the other track that you want to get to heaven. You want to see God in the end. And then between the 2 rails are the railroad ties. And that is the connection between the 2 rails. Now, God is also Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, the Trinity. And I know that's hard to believe and hard to think about. And it took me a long time. I think it took me 60 years to figure that out. Wow. And I'm still learning about that, about the Trinity. And I'm not trying to sit here and be a preacher or tell anything, but you got to have faith in God to go through this mess, this nightmare of CPS.
Correct. You're absolutely right. I agree with you on that.
So what they're doing is, because she had a history and she had a newborn child, how was she approached? Where did the social workers show up?
The social worker showed up at her home with the police officers, with two sheriffs.
Right. They're trying to use the intimidation factor. And let me tell you, the purpose of the police by law is supposed to protect the social workers. But the social workers use the police as intimidation factor like they used on me. They use intimidation factors because we're not born with a CPS manual. We're not born with a children's manual. We're not born with a manual about life. That's why I talk about life skills a lot. And I wish my show could talk about things, because I can sit here and talk about organizing and running surfing contests. Hold on one second. My power cord just came out. I have a computer that is old and fragile, and it's not working very well, and I have no money for a new computer yet. And there we go. I got the power cable in. I don't want to lose there. But, there is no manual. People have to learn it from their parents or by practice. And so when you're involved in CPS, it's trial and error. Right. You do not know your constitutional civil rights. You should have known them, because it used to be, and I could be wrong, but my son, who just graduated from high school last year, still took a class in government. He took advanced placement government. And I asked him, I said, do you learn about the executive branch, the judiciary branch, the legislative branch? Do you learn about what Congress is about? And he says, yeah, Dad, I learned that. Yeah. I said, well, I learned it, 50 years, 55, 56 years ago. I learned it. I'm a dinosaur. My age may show it, but I just saw my best high school friend yesterday for a luncheon. It was really beautiful. This guy I've known since 1967. And he is my age, in fact, 1 year older. And I have classmates from high school that I talk to every week on a Zoom meeting. And these classmates are classmates I never saw in high school, but I went to the reunion and met a lot of them. A lot of them I do know. And what I'm trying to say here is that without manuals, it's when you buy a car, do you get a little owner's manual that tells you how to turn your air conditioner on, how to adjust the radio, how to change the tire, how to check your oil? There's things like that, in an owner's manual. Well, maybe you didn't. Maybe you got a used car. But anyway, you usually get a little owner's manual. It's nice. But I do one step further. I buy what's called a shop manual that tells you about how to remove the bumper, how to take the car all apart into a million pieces. And I self-taught myself of how to repair cars. I'm a self-taught person to repair cars. I can do brakes. I can do a belt change. I can replace a water pump. I can replace an alternator. I can replace the starter motor. I can replace shocks. There's a lot of things that I've learned how to do there. But that's the thing is, that came because I had a manual. But there is no manual about how to deal with CPS, how to hire an attorney, how to do your checkbook, how to, fight other things in law. There's no manual.
Yeah, the thing is that she was intimidated because of the officers, really, right? Because thankfully I was there with her, and I was telling them that was no excuse or no reason for them to take the child. So I got really defensive.
Did they have a court order?
They were about to leave. But she gave in. She gave in. They were about to leave, and because I was being, I was being very aggressive with them, and I told them, you guys can come in. This is private property. She was actually staying with me at my home. So, and they were about to leave, but the officers were like, ma'am, you're just going to make things worse or whatnot. So she just gave in, and she was like, no, well, here, I'm like, dude, they were about to leave.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about that, because if she knew about her civil rights, you do not have to speak to policemen or social workers. If you get stopped by a policeman, you can say nothing to them, sign the promise to appear for the traffic charge. If they want to arrest you, then you get a phone call to contact your lawyer. And but the thing is, you don't talk to policemen, you don't talk to social workers, because anything you do will be held against you. The police have a thing called the Miranda rights. Now, I've had a lot of police training. I once was an ocean lifeguard. And as an ocean lifeguard, I had to take police training because I had to arrest people.
Don't they have a fiduciary duty?
The police are corrupt, just like the social workers.
Oh, okay.
You don't know good and bad. But they do
have a fiduciary duty, right?
Well, they're supposed to protect and serve. Protect and serve. But what they do is social workers, the reason why the police are supposed to be the social workers is the safety of the social worker, because a lot of people will harm the social worker. So they're there as protection. But the social workers are smarter than you because they know the tricks. They know if they have a police officer present, just him alone, dressed in his battle fatigues. I'm trying to tell you, policemen dressed to the hilt. I was talking to a policeman last night, a brand new policeman. And he had his breastplates on. He had his combat boots on. He had so many doodags around his waist that I didn't know what all of them were. I mean, he carries several weapons, a taser gun and a gun that will kill. A gun that will kill. So what's happened is that CPS says, I can get the child. I just have to bring a policeman. And whatever I say, the policeman's going to enforce, because the policeman doesn't know the laws of CPS. And I hate to downplay the policemen because they're valuable. That officer last night was wonderful. It was refreshing to meet a young officer in his 20s who was really trying to help me. I had a hit and run. And they were trying to catch the guy, the hit and run, a young fella that was so impatient in life, he decided to hit me and then leave the scene. Only problem is he left a calling card. He left his bumper on the ground with his license plate attached. And I showed it to the officer. He says, I've never seen such a thing. I said, this is proof. Now, he may not be the arrestor owner. He may be a driver of somebody that either stole the car, where we checked the car wasn't stolen. But what I'm trying to tell you about dealing with police and CPS, your friend could have said, first of all, you don't answer doors. I say that all the time. All you listening out there, don't answer the door. That was a rule taught by your parents. Now, maybe it's changed now. When my kids were born, I always told them, don't answer the door. Now, if you want other people to get in your home, have a code. 3 knocks, 4 knocks, 6 knocks, or ring the bell aggressively for 15 seconds. You know, something like out of the ordinary. But if you hear a solid knock at the door or a couple knocks, don't answer it. Yes, it could be a Girl Scout selling Girl Scout cookies. But more than likely, it's somebody that's searching for you, that will harm you. And I've heard so many cases of people getting hurt and killed. 5 bullets in the chest, that kills you. I don't know why policemen don't have the training, because I remember the training I did, that you can maim a person in the foot or the arm. You can disable them. There are other parts of the body that are not life-threatening. The ideal is you're going to protect and serve, but you can also disable a person, take them down. But there was a black airman in Gainesville, Florida, that was shot cold blank in the chest because the officer thought that was the apartment where domestic violence was going on. And he took the gun and 5 bullets went off, and he's on the phone to FaceTime with his fiancée, the woman he's going to marry, and she heard him dying on the phone. So if that doesn't knock sense to you guys, don't open the door to anybody. You don't have to. People got the mail. They can write a letter, send a form. They got phone calls they can call. But answer the door, you're playing Russian roulette. Now, Russian roulette is there's one bullet in the chamber, and you take the gun to your temple and you click it, and you hope it doesn't go off. What you're doing by answering the door is taking a chance that you may be killed. So don't answer it. They will leave the form or they'll call you. So she should never let them in the door in the first place. Now, if she opens the door and recognizes who they are, you can tell them, I need to have my attorney present. Be nice to them. Say, okay, thank you for coming here. But before we go any further, I don't want to trouble you, but I need to contact my attorney and he needs to be present. And you got to leave the premises. Now, if she knew that, she could say that. If I knew that, I would have said that, but I didn't. I did what she did, let them in, be palsy-wowsy. And on top of that, the CPS worker is orchestrating that, and hopefully that the parents, like me, are dumb. I wasn't educated. In fact, I knew about the mandating because I'm a teacher. I knew about how to report neglect and abuse. In my teaching credential, you have to take a class in how to report neglect and abuse. You have to be, as a teacher, recognizing your students. So what happened is she's setting herself up. And you're there, you don't know it either, and you're allowing this policeman to come and intimidate. And if they said, we need to take your children, you just say, I'm sorry, no children are taken unless you have a warrant. And also, I need my attorney present. I will contact you. My attorney will contact you, your counsel. You need to have your attorney you hire work with their attorney. Social service has an attorney. And you tell them, I'm legally have an attorney that represents me. And if you want to talk to me about CPS matters or the case or anything, you need to contact my counsel. Have your counsel contact my counsel. Now, maybe you won't have enough money to hire an attorney. That seems to be a big problem. Because a lot of us aren't that rich. I had to sell my house a quick sale. Now, I'm sorry for all your listeners right now because I'm going way over my time. But it's important I get this across because this Lexi lost her children because they opened the door and allowed them to take the children because they didn't know the laws, your civil rights to have an attorney present. So, and that's my rule number 4, by the way. She never would have to give up the children. She needs a court order. She needs their counsel to contact her counsel. And if she doesn't have an attorney, she can get one. Now, social services or the CPS, I should say CPS, will provide you an attorney if you can't afford one. The problem is the attorney they provide is not a license. Well, he is licensed, but he's licensed in criminal law. He knows nothing about family law, juvenile law, or dependency law. He doesn't have that much experience. And he will not fight because social workers have loaded him up with 30 or more cases. He has no time to talk to you. He's going to show up at the hearing and maybe make a few things, but he wants his time over because he's getting paid. He's getting paid.
Right.
So if you have that court-appointed attorney, you already may have one now, make him work. Tell him, if you do not fight for me, I will charge you with negligence. I will sue you for negligence. Also, I'll report you to the state bar. And most young attorneys don't want that to happen. So you may get them to work for you, but you need to tell them that they took your child, but the problem is she gave permission by handing over the child. See, that's one way they can get children, is by permission of a family or a friend or whatever opens the door. The second way they can get a child is a court order. A court order that's legally drawn up by a judge, and you have to follow the directions on that court order. The third way is that violence has taken place. If there's ongoing fighting among 2 people, 3 people, whatever, and the children's caught in the crossfire, they will break into the home. They'll stop it, arrest the people that were fighting, and get a hold of CPS to come and pick up the children. Because you do not fight. Go ahead.
Sorry. Because you said a court order, right? Do we have the right to maybe file some kind of document to have a court order to pick up our kids, or no?
No, you have to be, okay. Let me tell you something. Fighting CPS. So you need to
have an agency, or you need to be contracted.
Well, no. Here's how it works. You have attorneys that represent social service,
the social workers.
the social workers.
I see.
They are called the counsel. In court, you have them. Also, you have a judge.
Okay.
He's the referee. He's the one that makes decisions. There are bad judges. I'm not saying all judges are good, but the referee is a judge. He makes decisions based on law and dependency law, family law, juvenile law. The reason why I'm talking about those three areas of law is that's the kind of law you're fighting. That's the law they have to use. So you need to fight them back. But you cannot tell a social worker the return. You can ask them, and your attorney is the one that would do it anyway. Your attorney becomes your counselor, and you work through your counselor. And if it's a court appointed, you work through them. If you hire them, and hopefully you hire one that's a good one. If you hire a bad one, that could be a problem too. But
we're thinking about hiring Mr. Davis, so hopefully we'll get in touch with him tomorrow.
I got news for you. You can talk to Mr. Davis because by you talking on the phone, you've qualified for a free 15-minute private Zoom consultation with Mr. Davis.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So if you and your friend want to call him, and all you need to do with Mr. Davis is you need to text me your full name, your email, and your phone number because you're the one that called in. So you're going to make a list of questions, you and your friend. And you can tell Mr. Davis that you're a friend of your friend who had their children taken because she did wrong, and these are your questions. He will talk to you. He cares about you. Also, you can mention, I spoke to Bob Pace, and I'm interested in retaining you, or my friend's interested in retaining you. And he'll talk about his retainer. And I have no idea. It could be 10,000, 20, 30, 40, 50. I have no idea. It all depends on the complexity of the case and how long the case has been going on. Further, if you're out of state, it's going to involve some per diem, hotel, air transportation, ground transportation, and food. But you're not out of his jurisdiction. He works out of Arcadia, and he will see you at his office. So you could come and see him at his office face to face. But I'm telling you right now, here's a way that you can get a free consultation with Mr. Davis for 15 minutes. All you do is text me the number you called in, your full name, your email, and your phone number. Those three things. And then my producer, Grace, who can be reached at email, grace@vincentwdavis.com, will set up the meeting. And if Mr. Davis misses the meeting or you messed up, they'll set up another meeting. But you called in, and so that's the reward. I tell everybody, if you call in or be a guest on my podcast, and that's if 9 of you are my guests, that means 9 free consultations. But sure, Mr. Davis is a businessman. He's trying to get clients. So I'm not gonna lie or play around. I'm being very honest with you. But I do know Mr. Davis is more than just looking for business. He wants a reputation and he wants to help others. He was a foster care himself. He's a trial attorney. He has won thousands of cases against CPS and gotten their children back. He's also done civil lawsuits, both in state and federal court, and won millions of dollars back from CPS. He is a real fighter, a pit bull. But I do not stop there. If you think that you need to get, you should always get 3 attorneys, get 3 quotes. That way you're making sure. You need to check out the references and ask for Mr. Davis's references. And also, besides the references, you need to see how the chemistry is between you and Mr. Davis. It's so important. People hire attorneys and they don't have good chemistry. Their case is going to go sour. But anyway, to all your listeners, I've now gone over 19 minutes. And I felt it was important for me to emphasize.
Thank you, Mr. Page. I appreciate your time.
Yes.
And I appreciate your time and putting in the work, and educating some of the parents that don't know some of this stuff.
Right. Well, I want to thank you, Lexi. And you can call in tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, or you can call in tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I'm available 14 times a week. And I've been doing this now for 17 months, and I don't miss holidays. Now, I know I have a big race I have to organize in April. So my podcast will be coming on at 4 a.m. in the morning, which is going to be tough on people on the West Coast. It'll be 7 a.m. on the East Coast. But I do show up. I'm here that I care. Now, I want to thank Margaret, who's a longtime supporter of me, for coming in. She had a question. I tried to answer it the best I could with her question. But, and make sure your friend, here's all I said, because your friend's invited. She's the one that had her children taken away.
Yes. I will make sure.
Yes,
I will make sure she comes with me.
Because just because you have a case, does not prevent you from keeping your children. That's wrong of them.
Right.
They're taking advantage of that. So thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Lexi Love. And Margaret's from St. Louis, and Lexi is from Los Angeles County, California. So God bless y'all. Keep fighting to get your children back. And there is hope.
Definitely will.
There is hope. And this is Bob Page.